How's it going? Jason here. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Today I'm going to do an overview of the updates to Softube's amp room. So you might notice it's a little echoey in here. I'm going to be moving in a couple of weeks, so the studio is pretty much empty. All the sound deadening stuff is taken out. So I'm going to get back into my regular upload schedule once we get into the new place, and might even do a studio build because I've got a little shed out back that the previous owners are storing some of their tools in, and I may just decide that that needs to be my bunker. So my family's basically never going to see me again. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. But let's get into the changes to amp room from Softube. It was a couple of weeks ago when they posted it, and I'm going to break this video down into what the major changes are, the new models, amp heads, cabinets, and pedals that they've added, and some raw playing examples, and then final thoughts. So as usual with all my videos, there's really detailed timestamps down below. So if you just want to hear the playing stuff or the new stuff, skip to it. If you just want to hear the review, then you can skip to that as well. So first, let's get into the major change for amp room. So the default view, if you're familiar with Softube's products, is now called Studio View, and that's the view where you can mix and match anything however you want. So that's one of the cool things that I like about Softube amp room is it's fast, it's easy to use, and it doesn't have so many customization options that it drives you completely insane and you spend so much time fiddling with tone and less time on recording and less time on songwriting. So studio mode still gives you complete freedom to split your signal chain however you want and organize your signal chain in any way. If you want to put your cabinet first before your amp head, you can do that in studio mode. And there's a couple of little tweaks in the interface in studio mode that I'll get to in a second. And on the other side of that coin is what they're now calling suite mode. And suite mode is more like the traditional guitar amp sims that you see out there, where you've got a predetermined signal chain. So you've got pre-amp pedals that you can add. Now in suite mode, you can only add up to 3. Some of the other ones like bias effects, you can add as many as you want, but you can put 3 there, then your amp head, then your cabinets, then your post cabinet effects, and then they've added a parametric EQ that you can add at the beginning or the end of those signal chains. So let's dig into the interface changes between Studio and Suite. Okay, let's do a quick interface tour of what's different. If you've seen amp room before, it basically looks the same. There's a few things that are different. The controls up at the top are styled a little bit differently for adjusting your input and output and your noise gate and your dynamic control and all those other types of things. The view here is basically the same except for the cabinets. So this is all using the new view, which combines their previous cabinet view with some of the options that they had in their IR loader. So to be able to adjust your cabinet resonance and those things, those are all integrated here. And you can move this awesome pixelated mic around now, whereas previously you might have chosen a cabinet that has fixed microphones that you couldn't adjust. Now you can adjust them on all of the different cabinets, and you can obviously choose your different microphones. Why this is this weird image is beyond me, but you can see it's kind of jumping around, so it's a little finicky when you're moving things around. The only extra control you get is if you hold shift down, it will lock it so you can only move it vertically. And if you're just trying to adjust how close or far away you are from the speaker. The toggles are all still the same. You can toggle between all the different types of cabinets that you want. And other than that, this view is the same. You'll notice that the suite view here is not available because this signal chain does not follow this format. So you would have to either load a preset, or the easier thing to do is just to put a new instance of the plugin on a track, and it's going to default to your Marshall suite. So this, if I flip between Studio for a second, this is the signal chain that has to be set up for suite view to be enabled. And it's just easier to kind of go through. I think, going through here in studio view, once you get a signal chain that's long like this, you can double click on these to bring these up and do fine-tuned adjustments like you always could for all of them, but they're just zooming in and out and panning and stuff like that. It's a little easier if you're in suite view because you can bounce back and forth between them by going to your signal chain at the bottom. So it's a little bit easier to go and update this. And this is fully responsive. So if I were to put in, say, a compressor in here, it's going to shrink everything to be full size in the window here. Now with your pre and post effects, you can only have up to 3. So if I wanted to add another clean boost in here, I'd have to get rid of one of these. So you can only have 3. I don't think that would be a deal breaker. It's not for me because I don't use a lot of pedals anyway, but it's the same for your post effects. You can have 3 things here and you can't add anything else. You'd have to get rid of one of them. So that's the main differences in the interface between Studio and Suite view. And the way you switch between the different suites is you hover over the bottom right where the suite name is listed, and you can switch between bass and vintage and Marshall and metal, and that just basically gives you the default options for cabinets and quick setups that are part of whichever suite it is that you're using. And you still do get the access to all of the other hardware in here just simply by clicking these 2 arrows, and then you can pick whatever amps you want, and the same for the cabinets. The cabinet view here is, again, it combines some of their IR stuff with some of their previous cab interface, and then also the split and the blending options are up here at the top. So in studio mode, this is the split options that they used to have. Ah, bug report, bug report. All right, we're back on track. Okay, so studio mode, what was I saying? The mix view, right. So the mix view here.
What the heck?
All right, third time's the charm. I'm not going to double click on this to make it larger, but this view here is a little easier to use than Suite view because the panning, it's a little easier to see where you've got things panned. You can mute and solo, flip the phase, you can blend things together. And in Suite view, when you go to the cabinets, it's just simple controls here. It's not so bad on the Marshall view, but when you go to the vintage view, just because it's black and dark green and gray controls, it's hard to see that you actually have the controls here for it. And you can't actually type these in. So it's if you're really finicky with how you want to have things panned, the controls are just a little bit different. So by default, it's going to be in blend mode. So that will be percentage wise, and then you can remove that and you can adjust individual volumes as well. So the controls, the functions are the same, just the controls look a little bit different. So the last thing is with the presets. So if I go and open up the preset browser here, they do have the presets split out by suite. So you've got your Marshall suite presets, you've got your metal suite, and you've got your vintage suite, and the bass one's probably in here, but nobody plays bass, so we don't have to worry about that one. So when you go into your preset collections, these sound really, really good. So let's stop with the yapping and let's get into checking out some of these tones. So it's not really that huge of an update, I guess. What it does give you is it gives you prepackaged amp heads and cabinets. So if you pick, for example, the Marshall suite, you're going to get all of the Marshall amps and Marshall cabinets that fit well together, and the presets they've created, they've gone an extra step with those presets where they've added the new parametric EQ. So you basically get recording ready or studio ready tones right out of the box very fast. I will say from playing with it, the interface does seem to be a bit snappier than it used to be, so they probably did some performance upgrades under the hood as well. But being able to have the freedom of just jumping into Suite and grabbing a tone right away is actually pretty cool. And then you still have the freedom to switch into studio mode if you want to do some mucking around and change your signal chain and things like that. So overall for this update, I would give it 2 thumbs up, and probably because if you've seen any of my other videos, I'm pretty biased towards Softube Amp Room because I think it sounds better than anything else that I've used. It's simple to use, like I said. There's not so many customization options that you just go completely mental customizing things and swapping out transistors, and you can really focus on playing and tone and songwriting and stuff like that in a much quicker way. So in a future video, I'm going to do a comparison of the new Bias FX 2 update because I do own a copy of the Elite level for that, and they did a pretty big update a couple of weeks ago as well. So I'm going to put those two head to head and see which one comes out on top. So thanks again for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. You'll get notified when that one comes out.